3, 4. Burn it down! Burn it down! Burn it down! Burn it down!
Bienvenue, mes amis. Vancouver Canada is the backdrop of this edition of Saturday Night at Ringside Live. Fans, welcome to our Rwl Sn Rl. Wally Cardell here, joined by the usual suspects, Johnny GB Bianco, and of course, GM Tex Lynch. All right, let's talk about tonight's lineup. All huge names, all huge matches, of course. Events tonight will almost certainly affect the upcoming Labor Day Slamathon on September 1.
And there's going to be so much going on between tonight, the coming days, and yet the Labor Day Slamathon that it's getting a little tough to keep up with, even for us. I'm sure Tex has a better handle on things as general manager.
It's more controlled chaos than anything else, GB. It's still chaos, but it's just a little bit better controlled. How's everybody doing tonight? We've got a terrific lineup on tap tonight. 2 hours of great RWL mat action. So stick around, because it's going to be wild.
We're kicking things off tonight with Legends Singles Competition as Rick the Model Martel is set to face superstar Billy Graham with the Grand Wizard of Wrestling at ringside.
Which, of course, means you can rely on a perfectly clean match wrestled by Graham. Sure.
Good evening, Vancouver, and welcome to our Rwl Sn Rl. Our opening contest is set for one fall with a 15-minute time limit. Introducing first, from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, weighing 245 pounds, here is the model Rick Martel.
On the Canadian leg of this summer's tour, Rick Martel has not fared too hot, not even in single matches and not in tag matches with his Strike Force partner Tito Santana neither. He could definitely use a win, but I doubt he's going to get it against superstar Billy Graham.
Rick Martel's not above a little dirty fighting himself. So, 1, he knows what to expect from superstar Graham already, and 2, Graham might not be expecting a Rick Martel, willing to chuck the rule book in the trash. While yes, Graham is heavily favored to win this one, I'm just saying, he'd be smart not to underestimate Rick Martel.
Maybe, but arrogance still smells like a World War II undershirt.
By the Grand Wizard of Wrestling from Paradise Valley, Arizona, weighing 285 pounds, the superstar Billy Graham. You know, Hulk Hogan might have perfected the image, but superstar Graham was the prototype. The bright colors, the personality, and, yes, the 24-inch pythons. That all originated with superstar Graham, a true legend in every sense of the word. He's battled so many of the all-time greats. Sal Martino, Backlund, the late great Gorilla Monsoon, and so many others. Is Rick Martel in Graham's league? Not too sure, but I won't sell the model short. Too close to call in my estimation.
And he is the crown jewel of the Grand Wizard of Wrestling stable. He is especially proud of superstar Billy Graham, and considering the stable he's already got, the masked superstar Ox Baker and several others, Graham is still the big cheese. Well, alright, we are certainly starting off this week's Snarl on the good foot. A solid Legends Division match between Martel and Graham. Referee Willie Johnson rings the bell. They come center. Martel with an immediate headlock takedown on Graham. Superstar Graham on the mat. Shoves Martel away. Martel misses with the stomp grab. Graham nails him with a kick, misses the clothesline, goes behind on Martel, delivers a kick to the leg. Rick Martel gets a hold of him, back body drop for the big superstar. Martel countered with an uppercut. Up over their shoulders, but Martel quick counters into an inverted DDT. Martel gathers Graham up. Graham counters with a shot to the chest. Gets a hold of him. Martel again counters into a neckbreaker. Graham quickly back up on his feet. He can't believe it. Misses with a clothesline. Follows it up with an arm drag. Graham misses again. And a monkey toss from Rick Martel. Martel rebounds off the ropes, winds up the elbow, boom, right across the chest of the superstar. Graham takes Martel down to the canvas, finally gets a hold of him, has him up over the shoulders. Let's see. Yeah, he did get out again, and he delivered yet another DDT to the head of superstar Graham. Rick Martel starting to impress the hell out of me here. Graham with a forearm takes him down to the canvas, follows it up with a stomp to the face. Superstar Graham taken down by Martel yet again. Misses with the stomp. Superstar catches an elbow to the top of the noggin. Up over the shoulder he goes, and oh man, beautiful power slam right into the corner. One, but just a one. And barely just a one at that. Martel with another elbow to the top of the dome for superstar Billy Graham. Rick Martel right in front of the Grand Wizard, trying to unscrew the head of Graham like a bottle cap. The model not doing too badly for himself, I got to admit. Superstar Graham with a shoulder tackle takes Martel down, rounds him up. Belly to belly suplex right in the heart of the logo. A kick to the back. Martel stands himself on up. A gouge of the eyes to superstar Billy Graham. Graham retaliating with a Luthez press and a series of mounted punches. He goes for the cover. One, and just barely a one at that. The Grand Wizard introducing a chair into the mix here. Martel with an arm drag on Graham. Goes to work on the superstar. Covers again. One. And again. Just one. We're not getting anywhere near a 2 count around here. Huh. Rick Martel. Well, here we go. Rick Martel has decided to chuck the rule book in the trash like you said, Wally. A forearm from Graham. Graham gets the chair. Referee Willie Johnson's momentarily distracted. Graham catches the clothesline from Rick Martel. Graham never got the opportunity to use that chair. Referee Willie Johnson goes to work on that turnbuckle. While Graham stalks Rick Martel in the corner. Graham rounds him up. Martel moves it. Oh! Superstar Graham's going to be singing soprano for a minute. Here's a cover. 1, 2. Oh, well, now Rick Martel kind of losing his temper there at the end. But a questionable win's better than none at all.
The time, 3 minutes and 46 seconds. Your winner by pinfall, Rick Martel.
Boy, howdy, this ending's got me feeling all conflicted. While I would have loved to have seen Rick Martel winning this one cleanly, once he saw Graham grab that steel chair, the model understood that he would have to fight fire with fire.
Martel quickly graduating from an exposed turnbuckle to a full-blown shot in the store for the superstar. Boot collapsed like a pup tent in a hurricane.
I mean, what do you want me to say? Rick Martel was trying his best all through that match. And Superstar Graham kept trying to circumvent him. And I guess, well, Rick Martel finally blew his professional cool. Remembered he has a rule-breaking streak in him. And he delivered that one shot right there. There it goes. And down went Superstar Graham for the 1, 2, 3. Rick Martel blowing his professional cool and winning himself a match. We'll be back with more RWL Sn Rl right after the break. Hope you're still here.
We continue next with more Legends Division action as the master of the Diamond Cutter, Diamond Dallas Page, gets set to go toe-to-toe with Scott Bell's most recent acquisition, Ravishing Rick Rude.
Oh man, he showed up at Legends Showdown and everybody just about lost their damn minds.
This next contest is set for one fall with a 15-minute time limit. Introducing first, hailing from the Jersey Shore, weighing 235 pounds, here's Diamond Dallas Page. Wrestler, manager, trainer, and philanthropist, Diamond Dallas Page has done and continues to do them all. Page well known for his generosity and kindness to others, has helped many of his fellow wrestling stars put their lives back on track. On that basis alone, Diamond Dallas Page is clearly who I'd prefer to see winning this matchup over Rick Rude, whose name obviously suggests he's never been helpful to anyone but himself.
By Scott Bell from Robbinsdale, Minnesota, weighing 254 pounds, ravishing Rick Rude.
It was a point that came up during Legends Showdown between Chicago Danny Awesome and Sir Reggie Smythe. I would love to know too, where the hell Scott Bell got money to recruit ravishing Rick Rude, despite the fact that recruiting Rude is scraping underneath the bottom of the barrel.
It really is a gutsy move by DeShort, and while Rick Rude might still be a name, that name might as well be mud around here. Guaranteed, Rude will have no friends backstage unless they're also working with Scott Bell. That's gonna breed a nasty disposition for Rick Rude.
Nastier than what we got right here? Oh boy, put that robe back on, son. Don't nobody want to see that stuff. And why's he got Throckmorton P. Gildersleeve on his trunk?
Who's Throckmorton P. Gildersleeve?
Well, that was gratuitous and unnecessary, but I'm sure Scott Bell let him get away with it just for the fun of it. Referee Tom Kennemura rings the bell. Late comes center ring DDP. Has Rude up, an elbow to the back of the head. Rick Rude with a jumping neckbreaker on Diamond Dallas Page. Rude rounds DDP up. Knee right to the head of Diamond Dallas Page. Rick Rude beating the head of DDP against the mat. Rude rounds up DDP again, gets in by the trunk snap suplex from the Rude one. DDP makes his way up to a standing position on the apron. Rude tags him with a right, but DDP counters, gets a hold of him. As he again, Rick Rude with the elbow to the back of the head, and another jumping neckbreaker to DDP. Rude going for a cover, one, and just a one. Rick Rude gonna have to redo from start here. Rude drags DDP towards center, delivers a stomp to the arm, a stomp to the midsection. Rude dragging him center again. He's gonna try for another pin. Arrogant, one. He's an arrogant SOS, isn't he? DDP. A stomp to the face from Rick Rude. Rude catches an elbow from DDP, back up on his feet, charges. Tornado DDT right there. A kick to the back, a stomp to the chest, and now DDP starts unloading with hard right hands on the face of the ravishing one. Rude back up on his feet, gets a hold of DDP in a dragon sleeper. Releases the hold. DDP with Rude to the ropes. Whoa! Did you see that? Man, that was amazing. Kick to the chest on Diamond Dallas Page. Makes his way all the way up to the top turnbuckle here as Rick Rude tries to stand himself up. DDP misses with the elbow drop. Rude has him up the military press slam from ravishing Rick Rude, who, that turnbuckle's going to get a lot of activity this evening, Okay. Kick to the back from Rick Rude. DDP with a running elbow takes him down to the canvas. Diamond Dallas Page drags Rude towards center. Sets up the flip over neck whip on the ravishing one. Rick Rude counters, gets back up on his feet. Gets a hold of Diamond Dallas Page. Page with a shot to the gut. And another running elbow takes Rude down to the canvas. Rude with a wrist. Very clever roll up. One. Again, just a one. DDP back up on his feet, charges. Rick Rude counters with a kick to the midsection. An elbow to the head, but no good. DDP counters with a couple of shots. Finally, Rude nails the elbow to the head of Diamond Dallas Page. Rude follows it up with a stomp. Rick Rude behind in a rear chin lock on Diamond Dallas Page. Page flailing. Referee watching things. DDP trying to extricate himself from this nasty situation. And Rick Rude finally releasing the hold. Rude gets a hold of DDP, whips him to the corner, nails him with a right, gathers him up by the hair, escorts him to the corner again, smashes his head into the turnbuckle. DDP, look at this. Whoa! An inverted front cradle slam from Diamond Dallas Page gets a hold of him. Rolls Rick Rude up for a, oh man, wow, one. Just for one. Again. DDP with a clothesline to Rick Rude. Follows that one up with another one. Swing and a miss from Rude. Rebound off the ropes on a third forearm. Rick Rude counters, gets back up on his feet. Rounds up Diamond Dallas Page. Page yanks him back down by the hair. Rude counters with a shot to the midsection. DDP with a running kick, but ow, just took him. DDP playing games here with Rick Rude. Rude on the ropes. DDP hangs him up by the midsection off that top rope. Ow, that hurts. I don't care who you are. Diamond Dallas Page sets him up with a powerbomb. Takes a little walk with Rude. Sit out powerbomb for Rick Rude. And man, he just went all over the place. Too short, Popeye. Getting into it with DDP. And you knew it just had to happen. DDP abusing Scott Bell's newest piece of merchandise. There it is, the diamond cutter. And this should be a wrap right here. But it won't be because Too Short Popeye, Scott Bell, has decided to intercede. Referee trying to calm him down. Back body drop from Diamond Dallas Page. Page makes his way up to a standing position on the apron again. Here comes Rick Rude. Biding his time. DDP tags him with the right. You took too long. Rude rounded up over the shoulders of Diamond Dallas Page. Slammed down hard. DDP rounds him up again. Fireman's carry from Rick Rude. Who again has DDP by the scruff. Slams his head into the turnbuckle. And he's going to do it more than once just to make the point. Oh, man. Down goes DDP. Rick Rude already bleeding again. He took a hell of a beating. And that 8-man tag match between Bella Unlimited and the Heenan family at Legends Showdown. Rick Rude nails DDP with the pile driver. Oh, man. Well, the tides have just turned here. DDP with a clothesline. Pitches Rude out onto the floor. Goes on out after him. Naturally, Scott Bell going in for a closer look. And that can't be good. DDP makes his way back inside the ring. Rick Rude laid out face down on the canvas. Rude counters with an arm drag. DDP on the canvas now as Rick Rude stalks Diamond Dallas Page. Kick to the midsection. And there it is, the Rude awakening for DDP. Could be the end here. Now just hold on. Wait a minute now. Scott Bell foiling the referee's count again. Rick Rude held DDP down for like a count of 9. But Too Short probably screwed himself. DDP whipped to the corner, counters with an elbow to Rick Rude, gets a hold of him. Belly to belly suplex center ring. Diamond Dallas Page rounds up, back body drop from Rick Rude to DDP. DDP moves in. Dragon Sleeper, hard right hand, takes Rude down the canvas. And these guys, they've each hit each other with their big time moves. The Diamond Cutter and the Rude Awakening, and they're still fighting. I've got to say something about that. Diamond Dallas Page rounds up Rick Rude. Whips him to the far corner. Rude counters with an elbow. DDP counters with a kick. Rude counters a clothesline. Takes DDP down the mat. Rick Rude drags DDP. Look at this. Here we go, trying for an illegal pin. 1, 2, but only a 2. And Rick Rude catching a little frustration here. DDP with a basement DDT from DDP. Oh, now how about that? Rick Rude laid out, bleeding and counting the ring lights. DDP rounds him up. A series of jabs and a spinning clothesline. And again, Scott Bell doing whatever he can to make things easier for Rick Rude as DDP stalks Rude. Diamond Cutter a second time. And here's a cover. But again, something's gone awry. Rick Rude counters with a kick, takes DDP down. Page rolls out to the floor. And Rick Rude's talking trash. DDP gets back up, gets back inside the ring. Rounds up Rick Rude again on the Dragon Sleeper. Shoves him away. Gets a hold of him here. This ain't gonna be... Oh, man, what a nasty neck breaker right there. Rick Rude counters, gets back up on his feet, delivers a stomp. DDP with a shoulder tackle. Takes Rude down. Diamond Dallas Page. Quickly countered by Rick Rude into another implant DDT. A back body drop from Page to Rude. A flip over neck whip from DDP, and here's another cover. 1, 2. As close to a near fall as we've gotten in this match. DDP presently in control of things. Rick Rude counters with an elbow, gets back up to a standing position. DDP hangs him up off the top rope. Ow. A stomp to the midsection. As Diamond Dallas Page rallies the fans here in Vancouver. And it looks like he's doing pretty good. Elbow to the midsection from Rick Rude. A counter from DDP. Another forearm that takes Rick Rude down to the canvas, and he is in the far corner trying to stand himself up. DDP tags him with another right. Rude counters with a shot and an elbow. A shoulder tackle takes Page down to the mat. And again, Rick Rude manipulating the turnbuckles and exposing the steel as he rounds up Diamond Dallas Page, sets him up for the whip. Oh, man, he caught all of it. Oh, dang. DDP. And some pain here as Rick Rude gets a hold of him, has him up, scoop slams him center ring. DDP countering with a leg sweep. Rude counters with the same leg sweep. Yeah, Rick Rude's starting to really bleed, and he's probably starting to get a little bit tired too. DDP rounded up by Rick Rude into another pile driver. And Scott Bell certainly enjoyed the hell out of that one. DDP bleeding and busted open as Rude goes for the cover, hooks the leg. 1, 2, 3. Shut up. Ravishing Rick Rude picking up an upset win here over Diamond Dallas Page by pinfall.
The time, 12 minutes and 17 seconds. Your winner by pinfall, ravishing Rick Rude.
Isn't that adorable? Bleeding like a stuck pig and still finds time to be vulgar. Oh, well, Rick Rude with an upset win here tonight over Diamond Dallas Page.
Well, none of us is happy with this particular outcome. Nobody, that is, except for Rick Rude and Scott Bell, who are clearly happy about this win. It puts Rude on the map even more squarely after his return at Legends Showdown Wednesday night, and in a braid it means we're all gonna be treated to more of ravishing Rick Rude.
As Sir Reggie Smythe might say, delightful. Whatever next. Well, there you go, ravishing Rick Rude picking up an upset win over Diamond Dallas Page, but we still got a whole lot more RWL Snarl to get through, and we'll be getting back with all of it right after the break. Stay with us.
Hi fans, Aria Mitchell, Rage Ring announcer here. Well, all summer long, RWL has brought the excitement with this year's Sweet Revenge Summer Tour, but all good things must come to an end, and some endings are just new beginnings. Join us Monday, September 1st, as we begin the road towards December's year-ending Memphis Million with RWL Labor Day Slamathon. That's Monday, Labor Day, September 1st. We'd love to see you there.
As we continue, tensions between Scott Bell and MJ Ferrantino continue to heat up tonight as Lars Sullivan and Gene Snitsky get set to lock up with the Revival, Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder.
Accompanied by MJ Ferrantino and a combined weight of 590 pounds, the team of Gene Snitsky and Lars Sullivan. Young Mr. Ferrantino here has earned himself a growing reputation, being compared to fictional mobster Michael Corleone. with his stable successfully sidelining primetime Bobby Mills of the Unholy Trinity. And Ferrantino and DeShort have already established they're never gonna get along. And so, we have what you could call a sequel match to the 8-man tag at Legends Showdown Wednesday night. With these two standard teams preparing to try and outdo the other and take them down, it's very likely to become both personal and very physical.
I kind of hope it does. I'd be very disappointed if it didn't.
Despite DeShort's very limited resources, he is trying to keep up with Ferrantino with the recent acquisition of Rick Rude, who we saw earlier tonight. But even Rick Rude feels like a few little marbles in the bucket. When you put DeShort's stable next to Ferrantino's, which is starting to look more and more like the roster of a baseball team. In any war with Ferrantino, Bell is always going to be outspent by the young upstart manager.
Particularly when you consider he's getting a little bit of extra assistance from a certain general manager, certain former Memphis millionaire, but we're going to keep his name out. That's all right.
Can't and won't call a winner here based on the rule-breaking mantra of all Scott's people. And yes, Bell himself standing at ringside could be a deciding factor here, unless, of course, Snitsky and Sullivan decide to just destroy the revival quickly, which is also possible.
One factor we haven't considered, GB, is that the revival just barely survived that 8-man tag with the Heenan family, and they're going in against the ready-to-go, fresh as Daisy's team of Snitsky and Sullivan, looking all red-eyed and spiky-tailed.
Red-eyed and spiky-tailed, I love it.
Accompanied by Scott Bell at a combined weight of 465 pounds, Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson, the Revival.
Can't seem to tell if they look A, determined, or B, like they're walking the green mile. I can't really be sure. Well, Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, one thing is certain, they did take a hellified beating at the hands of the Heenan family Wednesday night in an 8-man tag match. I don't know how good they're going to be tonight. But Scott Bell, I'm sure he's going to try and add every little bit of help that he possibly can.
As for Bell Unlimited itself, everyone in power around here has done a great job, making sure DeShort never gets back any real power back in the company. From his dad, Jack McLeod, the big boss of RWL, right down to general managers like you, Steve Groves, and Gene Barry, keeping Bell right where he is, allowed to do only so much. Has been a pretty successful project, with everything else we've got going on here, with the Sectarians, the Future Endeavor, and every other little skirmish we've got happening right now. Could you imagine how hard it would be if Scott Bell was a bigger problem?
If that were the case, I'd probably recruit Don Roy Caruso to blow up his goddamn car again. Now, Johnny, you say too close to call. I can't exactly agree. Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, like you said, took a hell of a beating Wednesday night. They are definitely not going to be in the same shape as Snitsky and Sullivan, and they are going to get DESTROYED.
I can see your point, and well, I'm sure everyone who's got a problem with Bell Unlimited is hoping you're right about that. Still, the Revival and Bell will totally cheat, because they'll have to, just to stay freaking alive. And I still say it could be a factor.
Well, you can try and cheat, but they're going to be trying to cheat on like 2 flat tires. You remember all them triple power bombs the Revival took Wednesday night? If Snitsky and Sullivan get a good hold on them, we may not see these guys for a while. All right, gang, we're ready to go. The teams have chosen up sides. Going to be Lars Sullivan and Scott Dawson starting off this tag team matchup here as Willie Johnson sounds the bell, and here we go. Lars Sullivan catches a kick from Scott Dawson. Dawson sets him up for a pretty nice suplex, but not even a 1 count. Scott Dawson rounds up Lars Sullivan. Sullivan with a hard kick to the midsection. Rounds up Dawson. Dawson goes behind, slips behind in the back door. Flips Lars Sullivan to the corner. He rebounds out. Dawson with a falling suplex. Lars Sullivan back up on his feet. Grapples and misses. Dawson delivers a couple of kicks. Gets a hold of him. Delivers a knock to the back of the head. Lars Sullivan driven into the opposing team's corner. Counters with a kick, gets out. Dawson, preferring to keep him there, gets him back in the Dragon Sleeper. Drags him back into the corner a second time. Lars Sullivan says, nope, not going. Here, try my corner. Oh, and there goes our referee. Poor Willie Johnson. Can't seem to catch a break. Lars Sullivan rounded up by Scott Dawson. We're going to have one of these little tugs of war again. Back and forth between the two corners, huh? Okay. Dawson going back to the opposing team's corner. Please break this up, Lars Sullivan. Lars Sullivan's staring daggers as Scott Dawson gets a hold of him, has him up over one shoulder. A beautiful one-arm slam. And here's a cover. 1, 2. Oh, damn near a near fall for Scott Dawson. Dawson counters with an elbow, backs up Lars Sullivan a step. A clothesline takes Sullivan down into the corner. Lars Sullivan whipped out of the corner by Scott Dawson. Dawson rounds him back up, gets a hold of him. Nice vertical suplex. Simple but effective. Scott Dawson gathers up Sullivan. Sullivan slams him face first into the canvas. Dawson counters with an elbow. And a gouge of the eyes to Lars Sullivan. Sullivan again whipped back to that same corner. And here's a tag to Dash Wilder. He ain't going to make it out this time. Dawson takes him down to the canvas. Lines up the... Oh, man, that's nasty. A horrible kick right to the knee with the point of the toe from Dash Wilder. Has now rounded up Lars Sullivan. Sullivan counters, slams him into his own team's corner. Dash Wilder takes the ride again. Here's a tag to Gene Snitsky. There's a kick to the ribs for Dash Wilder. Dash Wilder counters with a kick to the leg of Snitsky. Snitsky counters with an arm drag. Rounds up Dash Wilder, pitches him over the top rope out onto the floor. And he's on the wrong side of town too. Gene Snitsky playing a little bit of mind games with Dash Wilder as he steps out. Snitsky with a gouge of the eyes to Dash Wilder. Wilder gathered up again by Snitsky. Snitsky lines up the arm, goes behind on him. Dash counters with an elbow to the face. Dash Wilder winds up the arm on Snitsky. Snitsky counters with a couple of kicks to the gut. Some hard ones too. Dash Wilder with a knee breaker on G. Snitsky. As the referee continues to count, Snitsky counters the double ear shot, kick to the midsection, a chop across the chest. Dash Wilder catches a rake to the back and a clothesline that takes him down near the aisle. Wow. Dash Wilder counters with a leg sweep. Rounds up Snitsky. Snitsky counters with another arm drag. Misses with the double axe handle. Pitches Dash Wilder towards the barricade. Doesn't quite get there though. Dash rounded up by Snitsky. Snitsky countered with a kick from Dash Wilder. Wilder practically driven into Too Short Popeye Scott Bell. Dash Wilder rounds up Snitsky. Has him up. Snitsky counters with an elbow that backs him the hell off right away. Hip into the wrinkles time with the titles on the line. You can play it anytime, even if you're 99. Into the wrinkles time, into the wrinkles time, into the wrinkles time, into the wrinkles time. Too Short helping up a stunned Dash Wilder. He finally snaps out of it, gets back into the ring. Snitsky right there waiting for him with a fireman's carry. Dash Wilder counters with a left. Winds up Snitsky into a nice neck breaker. And now, a little bit of chokey at the hands of Dash Wilder. Gene Snitsky's laid out. Scott Bell's introduced the chair. Well, what else is new? Scott Dawson comes in on the tag. Snitsky counters him with a kick. Misses with that move, whatever the hell it was supposed to be. Scott Dawson rounds him up over the shoulders. Gene Snitsky catching a driver on top of that steel chair. Wasn't really much the referee could do about it. A stomp to the midsection. An arm snap from Scott Dawson. Dawson taken down to the canvas by Snitsky. Too Short getting into it. And there's the distraction as Scott Dawson delivers the second knee breaker to Gene Snitsky. Referee Willie Johnson needs to get the chair the hell on out of there. Scott Dawson counters the kick from Snitsky into a dragon screw and right back onto that damn chair. A kick to the chest from Scott Dawson, who tags in Dash Wilder. I don't know if that's brave or not exactly. Oh! Well, there we go, a sneaky little double team as Scott Dawson feigns an exit. Leaves Dash Wilder laid out. Lars Sullivan has come in on the tag, and he's trying to crawl his way back to somewhere else. Lars Sullivan hung up on the top rope. Dash Wilder covers one, and not even one. And now, well, this one's gotten pretty crazy already. Dash Wilder with a stomp to the back of the head of Lars Sullivan. A stomp to the side of the head. Dash Wilder rounded up. Oh, here's an arm drag from Lars Sullivan. Sullivan gets in from behind. Oh, man, that was just nasty. Knee to the midsection, but delivered with a great deal of force. Dash makes his way back inside, gets a hold of Lars Sullivan. Hard whip to the far corner, a clothesline, and down goes Lars. Lars Sullivan being set up here by Dash Wilder. A nasty leg snap. And one thing about the Revival, they do know some seriously painful moves. Scott Dawson tags in Lars Sullivan. You know Scott Bell's loving watching Lars Sullivan get his. He fired Lars Sullivan, went to the Ferentino group, and now he's absolutely furious about it. Lars Sullivan rounds up Scott Dawson. Dawson with a kick to the midsection. Sullivan whipped to the corner. Oh, look at that. Scott Dawson took out his own partner. A shot to the head and a headbutt from Lars Sullivan to Scott Dawson. Dawson with a jab. A quick uppercut. Down goes Lars again. A stomp to the back. Scott Dawson with another kick to the midsection and a DDT. He's going for the cover and a hook of the leg. One. Gene Snitsky not there to spoil the party. Scott Dawson staring daggers at Snitsky, who has to start all over again with a pissed off Lars Sullivan. Sullivan countered into the corner. There's a kick to the midsection and a rake of the odds across the top rope from Scott Dawson. Lars Sullivan on one knee here. Dawson with a dragon screw. But that ain't all. Snaps the leg too. Dawson rounds up Lars. Whoa, man. Nasty shot to the knee. Scott Dawson starting to show signs of fatigue here at the halfway mark in this matchup. There's a kick to the midsection from Lars Sullivan. Sullivan has him up for the powerbomb, but Scott Dawson would rather not go. Makes the point with a couple of shots to the head. A quick jab. Sullivan whipped to the ropes. A collision with no result. Dawson whipped to the corner. Sullivan moves in on him. Dawson quickly counters, gets out of the corner. Rounds Sullivan up. Snake eyes across the top turnbuckle. Sullivan turned around, Russian leg sweep from Scott Dawson. A stomp to the butt, stomp to the leg. And again, we're getting real close to the halfway mark in this 20-minute time limit matchup. Lars Sullivan laid out face down, and I hate to say it, but the Revival seems to have the advantage at the moment. Lars Sullivan swings and misses with a clothesline. Here's a hard shot to Dawson. Another clothesline from Lars Sullivan that takes him down. He gets right back up again, catches a hard right, catches another one, down to one knee. Lars Sullivan rounds him up. Hard whip to his team's corner, and a big splash. Down goes Scott Dawson. That was a nasty combination of moves from Lars Sullivan. Sullivan with the, well, here we go. The advantage is about to go out the window as Lars Sullivan starts fighting with his old boss, Too Short Popeye. Dawson back up on his feet. Gets up, sneaks up behind on Lars Sullivan, whips him to his team's corner. Says he's going to go after Gene Snitsky too. Yes, he is. Scott Dawson debating whether or not he should go after Gene Snitsky. Focuses on Lars Sullivan instead. Tags in Dash Wilder. Graves though, oh man, they are double teaming nasty tonight, the Revival. Well, I suppose when you're trying to survive, that's the best thing you can do. Dash Wilder drives an elbow into the leg of Lars Sullivan. Sullivan with a hard shot takes down Dash Wilder. indicating to the fans here in Vancouver, don't worry about me, I'm okay. I'm all right, don't nobody worry about me. Oh, man, Sullivan rounds him up. Big time one-arm slam from Lars Sullivan. Scott looks like he's going to have a heart attack. Yep, sure enough, he's going to get involved, allowing Scott Dawson to break up the tag. Lars Sullivan, meanwhile, makes his way to the top turn. Stopped by Scott Dawson. A kick to the back takes Lars Sullivan down. You wasn't kidding, Johnny. They're going to cheat their tails off. Scott pulls himself. Well, you got to be kidding me. Is he insane? What's he going to do? He's fighting with the referee. Getting in the referee's face. Like I said, he's done had it. Scott is done. He is out of here. Too short, Popeye. His own worst enemy. And he has just been ejected from this matchup. Meanwhile, we got Dash Wilder laid out. We got Lars Sullivan laid out. Hard right from Dawson. Tries for the DDT. Sullivan counters with some shots to the midsection. Oh, man, military press slam. Lars Sullivan dragging Dash Wilder towards center. Not even towards center, towards his team's corner. And here comes Gene Snitsky. Whoa! 300-plus pound double stomp to the midsection. And that's going to rearrange your inside. Snitsky out on the apron as Scott Dawson is brought in on the attack. Snitsky rolls himself back inside. Here's a shot from Scott Dawson. A kick from Scott Dawson and a DDT to Gene Snitsky. Snitsky being escorted towards center. Here we go again. Dawson winding up the submission. Winding up the legs of Gene Snitsky, but Lars Sullivan right there to break up that submission hold. Scott Dawson starting to look a little bit frustrated here. Snitsky dragged towards the edge. Here we go. 1, 2. No. Gene Snitsky had nearly taken enough punishment for that. Snitsky winds up the arm, snaps it on. Scott Dawson gets a hold of him. Double ear clap back Snitsky off. Dawson whips Snitsky to his team's corner. Snitsky escapes the corner. Dawson counters with a kick. Gets a hold of Snitsky. A shot to the back of the head. Looks like we're going back to the other team's corner. Oh, man. A shot to the head to the turnbuckle. Snitsky again counters. Lars Sullivan getting involved here. He collides with Scott Dawson. This one's been total chaos. I've seen stuff happen that we don't usually see. Okay. Hard whip to the corner for Scott Dawson. Gene Snitsky sets him up on that turnbuckle. There's a hard right, and guess who's going for a 10-foot express elevator to hell ride? Scott Dawson crashes and burns. Gene Snitsky with a definite high-risk maneuver in the top rope superplex, and he has laid out Scott Dawson. And now the punishment's starting to get real serious. Oh, man. Almost 15 minutes into this 20-minute match, and we still ain't got a winner. Elbows to the midsection for Snitsky. Snitsky counters. A chop across the chest. A chop across the chest from Scott Dawson. Snitsky rolled towards the barricade, but no good. Dawson rounds him up. Snitsky counters. Catches a jawjacker. Counters Scott Dawson again. Another set of chops to the chest, back and forth between these two. Slammed head first into the apron goes Gene Snitsky. Scott Dawson rounds him up. Referee Willie Johnson still counting. But finally, we get Snitsky back in the ring. Here comes Dawson. Dawson gets a hold of Snitsky quick. Whips him to his team's corner. A cheap shot from Dash Wilder as he comes in on the tag. And here comes that nasty double team again. Scott Dawson winds up the legs. Dash Wilder with a kick of the point of the toe right to the patella. Ow. Drives a knee right into the head of Gene Snitsky. Snitsky rounded up, whipped to the corner. Dash Wilder nails him for the clothesline. Goes for the cover. 1, 2. Oh, almost. Goes but no cigar. Scott Dawson tries to take down Lars Sullivan, but he ain't gonna do that. Sullivan's got him up. Big time scoop slam. Snitsky with an arm drag on Dash Wilder. Oh, here we go. Dash Wilder in big time trouble as he's about to catch yet another triple power bomb from Ferentino's boys. And boom, there it is. Dash Wilder. Laid out but good. Gene Snitsky covers, hooks the leg. This could very well be the end right here. 1, 2. And that is it. Snitsky and Sullivan defeating the Revival by pinfall, and Dash Wilder, he ain't moved.
The time, 16 minutes and 42 seconds. Your winners by pinfall, Gene Snitsky and Laura Sullivan.
Final analysis on this match. To their credit, the Revival fought like they were fighting for their lives, because they kinda were. They competed so defensively, it quite literally took Snitsky and Sullivan near the full-time limit to put down Dash Wilder with that triple power bomb, assisted by MJ Ferrantino. And yeah, Too Short got himself chucked from ringside. I won't say it was a perfect match, but in my book, we got a happy ending.
For me, it was close to perfect. Hey, Tex even got in his ring post song. How can you possibly go wrong?
Aw, thank you, GB, but someone who does not have a happy ending is going to be Dash Wilder, as he is going to have to be assisted the hell on out of here. He's hurt bad. We may not see Dash Wilder for some time to come, as MJ Ferrantino looks on, drinking in his revenge on Too Short Popeye, as another competitor bites the dust at the hands of the Ferrantino stable. Fans, we're going to be right back with more RWL Snarl right after the break. Please stay with us. All right, folks, we're about to wrap up the first half with our last match of the first hour, but first we're going to have to relay some unfortunate news. As you saw earlier in the last match, Dash Wilder had to be escorted from the ring after a triple powerbomb from Snitsky, Sullivan, and MJ Ferrantino. And MJ Ferrantino, you can see him over there doing his victory lap as Dash Wilder is dragged away to the back. Well, Dash Wilder, freshly examined by Dr. Beverly Sims Barnett, RWL staff physician, says Dash Wilder will not be back until sometime in mid-September.
Scott Bell should have never committed the Revival to this match so soon after Legends Showdown. Now he's got to work without Dash Wilder, who's suffering from a fairly nasty concussion and some neck pain. Way too many triple power bombs in Dash's diet this week.
He's gonna have to cut back on those. Coming up, we're closing out the first hour with a ladies division matchup, setting Eve Torres against the extremely hot and extremely popular Brenda Blair.
The next ladies' contest is set for one fall with a 15-minute time limit. Introducing first, from Los Angeles, California, here's Eve Torres.
Okay, this is an unexpected surprise. This former WWE Divas champion, with the movie star good looks, was exceedingly popular during her run with them, and here making her first RWL appearance as far as I can remember. I don't think we've ever seen her compete, at least not here.
You would be right, Wally. She has never competed in an RWL ring. This will be her first time, and going up against Brenda Blair. Well, that's going to make for a colorful match.
Her opponent, from San Jose, California, Brenda Blair.
On the other side of things, Brenda's coming off that loss last week in the Snarl Women's Championship match with Liberty Bell Danielle, so she's gonna come in looking for a crucial win over the newly arrived Eve Torres, but against a former Divas champion, and that means Brenda may not have an easy time in this one.
And while Brenda may have lost to Danielle Heathcote last week, fans are still buzzing about her total Aces High performance in that Fatal 4-Way elimination match at Rage just a few days before that. And no bull, she was amazing in that one. And so, I'm not sure what you Jets want to do, but I'm absolutely favoring Miss Blair in this confrontation.
And there's nothing wrong with that, Wally. Not a thing at all. Man, is it just me, or does this Vancouver crowd certainly seem happy to see Brenda Blair? This is going to be a great matchup to close out the first half tonight. Referee Walt Rothburn sounds the bell. Here we go. Brenda Blair opens up with a series of chops and a spinning forearm, taking Eve Torres down to the mat. Gets a hold of her, drives a knee into her head. Brenda Blair wasting very little time making her way to the top far left turnbuckle. Here we go. Oh man, what a leg drop with a lot of elevation on that one. Brenda Blair firmly in control in the opening goings here. A series of wrist clutch kicks to the ribs and a forearm to the side of the head for Eve Torres. Brenda Blair rebounds off the rope. Boom, elbow right into the face of Eve Torres, followed up with a stomp. Brenda Blair firmly in control of things from the word go. Here's a series of stomps. She likes to do this. She likes to kick people and toy with them. Brenda Blair gets a hold of Eve Torres, has her up, drives another knee into her head, goes for a cover and hooks the leg. 1, 2. Well, that ain't gonna work. Eve Torres kicking out of the pin. Brenda Blair having to start from zero again, goes back to the top far left turnbuckle, and here, oh man, not one but two, and goes for the cover again. 1, 2, not even 2. Eve Torres resisting 2 top rope leg drops from Brenda Blair, won't go gently into that good night. Brenda Blair not worried about it at all. She has been firmly in control of Eve Torres from the opening bell. A series of stomps to the hands and fingers of Eve Torres from Brenda Blair. And countered by Eve Torres, who's finally looking like she's going to mount some offense. Here's a shot to the midsection and a neck breaker from Eve to Brenda Blair. Brenda slammed back down to the canvas by Eve. Eve rounds her up. Another kick to the midsection and another neck breaker. Eve Torres starting to get some momentum going here. Slams Brenda Blair's head to the canvas. Brenda rolls out to the outside. Eve Torres going to follow her on out. A series of hard rights, a slap, and a chop block that takes Brenda Blair down to the floor as the referee begins to count. There's a stomp from Eve Torres. Look at this. Oh man, this ain't good. Oh man, guillotine drop. Ow. Face first into the floor. Eve Torres follows that up with a stomp. Well, we are definitely getting a up-close and personal view of this one. Brenda Blair in a lot of pain at the moment. Eve Torres really starting to battle back here after several minutes of taking some serious beating at the hands of Brenda. Brenda rolled towards the barricades on the outside. Referee Walt Rothburn continues to count as Eve drives a knee into her head. This with great disdain for the referee, she's like, I'll go back in there when I'm ready. Oh, well, I guess I should have gone back in there. Driven into the ring steps by Brenda Blair, who is back inside the ring now. Eve Torres follows her on in. Brenda locks her up, takes her to the far left corner, head first into the turnbuckle she goes. Brenda Blair drapes the leg over the rope, delivers a kick to the calf. Brenda immediately going for the sleeper hold here, but too close to the ropes. Referee calling for the break. Brenda with a clothesline. Follows that one up with a second one. Eve Torres gets back up, catches a third one. Winds up in the far corner. Brenda Blair quickly countered by Eve Torres, who goes behind on Brenda. Has her up. Back suplex on Eve Torres, who's going for a pin. But not even one. Brenda Blair kicking out real quick. Brenda locks up, well, whipped to the ropes is Brenda. Eve Torres quickly countered into an inverted DDT by Brenda Blair. A hard shot. Eve Torres gets a hold of Brenda. Brenda gets a hold of her, has her all the way up, vertical suplex. And Brenda Blair with a cocky pin here. 1, 2. Would have been nice if she'd have pulled that one off, but no. Eve Torres powering out of that one. Here we go. Brenda Blair driving a series of knees into the side of the head. I'm saying, she's seeing all kinds of lights flashing behind her eyes right now. There's the stomp to the midsection. Brenda Blair with a stomp to the shoulder. And a blatant choke. Brenda Blair has really been dominant in this matchup. Eve Torres in the far corner. Brenda gets a hold of her. Starts yanking the arm against the ropes. Brenda drapes the leg over the rope. She is absolutely abusing the hell out of them ropes. Eve Torres caught in another sleeper hold. Again, too close to the ropes. Referee calling for the break. Brenda opting to drag Eve Torres towards center ring. Let's see what she's got cooked up now. Rounds up Eve. Kick to the midsection. Oh, a stunner. And down she went. There's Brenda Blair shaking her little hinder. Isn't that cute? Brenda Blair stalking Eve Torres here. Rebound off the rope. Oh, man. Nasty shot. Face buster off the middle rope from Brenda Blair. Brenda drags Eve Torres towards center. Covers and hooks the leg. 1, 2. Oh, that one's a wrap. Brenda Blair defeating Eve Torres by pinfall in our last match of the first half.
The time, 5 minutes and 40 seconds. And your winner by pinfall, Brenda Blair.
Well, last week she dropped her bid for the Snarl Women's Championship against Liberty Belle Danielle, but she is back this week, chalking up another win tonight against Eve Torres as she continues to make the climb towards her next big title bid. And what a shot it was. That stunner put Eve Torres out. Oh, man. Brenda Blair didn't even really have to finish things up. She could have gone for the pin right there, and it would have been all over.
It wasn't enough. Brenda puts the finishing touch on Eve Torres with that wicked rebound facebuster, and you could have counted to 20. Eve Torres was fourth tender done. Great win for Brenda Blair.
It most certainly was, Mr. Cardell. That concludes the first hour of tonight's RWL Snarl. And we'll be back with the second half and a whole lot more RWL wrestling right after the break. Hope to see you there when we get back.